Hey guys, how many of you actually know what a district clerk does? On today's episode, we will have Jamie Smith, the district clerk of Jefferson County, Texas, live to go through the transitions, the things he's done in our community, and I'm looking forward to it. Don't give up on the system. Let's go.
He told me, AJ, you either gonna be a politician or a pastor because you have a gift.
The sky's the limit, sky's the limit. So fly. We do all this for the generations that come right after us. He tryna make a way, he made a way, and I got so much proof to show for it. The sky's the limit, the sky's the limit. Whoa.
I didn't choose politics, politics chose me.
So, tell me, who is Jamie Smith?
A highly blessed individual, an imperfect individual that's been blessed by God to serve his community, serve his country, serve his county, and serve his state.
So, serve his country, serve his county, serve his state. Kind of tell us about your current position, what you do, and kind of what you did prior to that to even propel to this position you're in.
Right now, I'm the Jefferson County District Clerk. I've been in that position since 2015. Prior to that, I was the office administrator in the County Clerk's office, and alongside running concurrently with that, I was also the City Councilman for Ward 4. Prior to that, I was an education math teacher at MLK. Prior to that, I worked at the Sheriff's Department. Prior to that, I was a physical therapy assistant. Prior to that, I served during Desert Storm.
Oh, wow.
So really, most of my life has been about service, and it's always, I guess, the military, I must say I'm the proudest and feel most honored to serve in something that's bigger than you. Because even though like now with all the division in politics and things like that, no matter what side you're on, I'm there to defend the country. We don't care about politics, we don't care about gender, we don't care about ethnicity, religion. We just care about defending the United States and those who reside within the United States.
And I appreciate your service,
Thank you.
brother. That's something I learned about you. I didn't know you were in the service. That's something I learned about you.
4 years in Army, Desert Storm.
My parents were too, man. But you know, we kind of talked about you had a long career. You gave us a little feedback about your career, but what inspired you to get involved in local government and eventually even become your current position?
Well, I have to really thank Ms. Carolyn Guidry and Judge Deuce Jones. When she hired me on as her office administrator, she was looking for someone in teaching because they were just getting ready to roll out with electronic voting. And so, you know, that's going to be a big change. It's mandated due to the incident that took place in Florida with George Bush and Al Gore with the hanging chads. So she was looking for someone with a teaching background. And so I got involved, she hired me, and so we started rolling out the electronic voting machines. I mean, we were working from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. going to any and every event, from 100 people to one person, trying to demonstrate the new voting machines, make sure that they're comfortable in using the new voting machines, because we didn't want to, you know, press the vote. We want to let them know, if you can use an ATM, you can use a calculator, you can use this to vote. And so one of the demonstrations, you know, this lady was kind of really not involved, and I'm like, hey ma'am, you know, what's wrong? You know, is it intimidating to you? Da, da, da. She goes, no, it's not intimidating. She goes, I just don't believe in voting because, you know, these politicians, you know, all they're about is talking and talking, and they don't walk the walk. I said, well, you got to pick the better of the two evils. I said, you need to voice, you know, who you want to make decisions for you. And then she goes, well, you'd be a great politician. I said, no, she said, you'd be a great elected official. I said, oh no, I'm not a politician. She goes, that's exactly what we need. We don't need any more politicians. We need someone that's going to be of the people, for the people. And that's what I tried to strive for all my political life since 2007.
But I think it's kind of unique. You said from 6 a.m. to sometimes 9 o'clock p.m. The amount of time and energy you guys put into actually educating people on how to use those machines that were new to a lot.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very important. I mean, you know, the right to vote was given to some. Some we had to, you know, fight to get it. And it's very important that we make sure that it's easy to do. Even in these days and times now, where they're trying to, in my opinion, oppress the vote with different type of laws and things like that they've enacted. But it's important for us not to give up.
Yeah.
You know, to keep striving. It's important for us to, no matter what obstacle is placed in front of us, to keep going. If they raise the bar to 10 feet, we need to jump 10-6.
I like that
When they
because
raise it to 11, we jump 11-6.
11-6, but I love that because like the podcasters don't give up on the system.
Right.
And one of my reasons and our reasons for doing this is all these systems in place. It's our job to educate our community, our constituents on how these systems work, ways to work within these systems, and ways to make sure these systems can be bent to the will of our universe. Like you said, if they raise the bar to 10, we need to go 10-6.
Correct.
And that's an example of just your ability to go above and beyond. You know, just kind of talk to me about, you know, when you were at that city council level, to kind of be in this position and the city councilman, you had to go above and beyond because I can only imagine the hours you put in.
Correct. And like I said, I was new to the political game. I was running against an incumbent, and I think I was the first one to beat an incumbent into the office. And so it was a lot of, you know, footwork, grassroots politics, meeting a lot of people. But I think that's it's the hardest part, but it's the most beneficial. You get that one-on-one with your citizens. You get to hear what they're going through. You get to see the challenges in the community. I mean, it's different. Ward 4, you have the more affluent areas with Blossom and 23rd and the Enclave and things like that. And you have your other areas where you have the housing projects. Well, not projects, I hate to say that, but you have the apartments and things like that, affordable housing.
That term right there,
affordable housing. So you have to balance the needs of everybody and to make sure that everyone is getting a fair shake. You just don't want to side to, oh, well, you know, I know this sect always votes, so I'm just going to do what they say and forget about everybody else. I look at it as I'm really there to represent the ones who didn't have a voice. Because the other side, those people had a voice. You know, they get out and they exercise their right. Some of the other ones, they didn't have a voice. And to me, I wanted to represent the ones who didn't have a voice. Yeah. And by talking and going out, a lot of things, I mean, one of the biggest things that we started doing that evolved within the city was a simple cleanup. Everybody kept complaining about, well, we don't have anything in Ward 4 and da-da-da. But you have to make it aesthetically pleasing to bring businesses into Ward 4, to bring housing into Ward 4, to help increase taxes, and so you have money to help with infrastructure and things like that. So we started doing cleanups, and next thing we know, in about 4 years after doing cleanups, the city took it on as a citywide event.
We still do it to this day.
Cleanups.
Yeah.
And then along with that, we use empowerment zones, helped swing an empowerment zone to bring Antioch help build their homes and things like that. We helped the fight. We use empowerment zones and funding to get HEB to take over the old Baptist hospital. So, you know, it's all about trying to accomplish things for the community. That's number one. What's the best thing that we can do for our community?
And I think that's imperative because a lot of people don't understand elected officials work for the people. And sometimes elected officials can be in positions for so long, they forget that they work for the people who actually put them there.
They do.
Tell me some of the things that keep you grounded so you don't ever have some of those moments that you see with other people who may be in some of these positions.
Well, you know, you look at those people that you're talking about, and that right there reminds you, you know, who you are. You know, you're not the title. You know, you're not, you know, what makes me Jefferson County District Clerk is not me, it's the people who voted me in there. So I wouldn't be there without the people who voted me in there. And then I have to earn the vote of the people who didn't vote me in there to get their respect. But my vision or my thought process for older politicians like myself, we are supposed to be bridge builders for younger politicians like you. So it's imperative that we do things right, we do things fair, we do things transparent, because if we don't do those things for ourselves, that's going to make it harder for you. But if they see, okay, well, you know, these guys did a good job, so I'm going to give AJ a shot. You know, I was the first black elected Jefferson County District Clerk.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's
so
what's up. Yeah.
I know for myself, I said, I know I have to do an excellent job. because if I want another African American to hit that chance, I'm gonna have to do a good job,
gotta
or
be the
somebody
example.
behind me
Gotta
will
be the
not get
example.
that chance.
And it's been 15 years, right? I mean, not 15 years, since 2015,
Since
correct?
2015,
Yeah. So kind of talk to me about how you felt prior to making that transition. Like, were you nervous to go from where you at to this county level seat? Like, talk to me about your transition, your thought process.
Well, I was nervous, but I felt that with my education, go LU. I got my bachelor's and my master's from LU, but I'm an Aggie at heart because that's where I started off with before I went to the military. But I felt with my education, my background in teaching, me working in the county clerk's office as the office administrator, also being a city councilman, I thought that experience, already being in government, would make me a very qualified person to run for district clerk. And when that opportunity came, I took it. Nervous, yes, but I took that leap of faith and just put my trust in God, because He has it planned out for us even before we even think about doing what we're going to do.
Yes, He sees all and know all.
He sees all, know all.
So what does your job as district clerk involve? And what do you think most people don't realize about the work that you actually do?
Well, we are the sort of the middleman in the judicial system. We handle all the felony paperwork for the courts, the big civil cases. We do adoptions, juveniles. In fact, coming up Friday, tomorrow, is National Adoption Day.
Okay.
And so what happens is I waive the fees for adoption. You have a bunch of children getting adopted and finding these new homes, and that's a true blessing.
That's amazing, man. Yeah.
And so, but we do a lot of the paperwork, e-filing and things like that, background searches. Of course, everybody knows us for jury duty, and now we're being known for passports, because while I was running for district clerk, I had a platform, and one of the things I said, I wanted to bring new revenue to Jefferson County, and that was by doing passports. So we initiated, that was one of the first things we initiated when I took office.
It's funny because as we walked in to do this interview, we literally had a guy come up and ask you about a passport. So, I mean, it's unique that you use that tool as a form of economic development to actually bring revenue into the county.
Right, because it was untapped revenue. They didn't, you could go to the post office, but as a district clerk, by state law, state rules, I'm allowed to do passports constitutionally. So now we started off in April. The funny thing, we started off April 1, April Fool's Day in 2015. And we started off with, I think, maybe 10 to 12 passports that month. Now we're doing 10 to 12 a day, and we just had a passport Saturday, which we offer twice a year, and we had over 400 people come into the courthouse to get passports last Saturday.
Whoa.
From all over, not just from Jefferson County, all over Texas. We have some from Louisiana. We have people come in from Oklahoma to come down that Saturday to get a passport from us.
Well, one thing, I know I've been up there to your office sometimes to visit with you, but one thing I want to compliment you on, just the overall morale and professionalism that those ladies have up front when you actually do come. To oversee that many employees, can you talk to me about how do you set that culture?
It was, going in, it was difficult because the previous district clerk, she passed from cancer, Lolita, the Honorable Lolita Ramos.
Okay.
So it was a year in between. They had the chief deputy take over for that year, so you had to go in, and people were nervous with a new person, entirely new coming in. Some kind of knew me because I worked downstairs in the county clerk's office. But the main thing is, I sat down with the supervisors. I took lessons from Frederick Douglass.
Okay.
I looked, before you put the sidewalks down at the college, he looked to see where the routes were going, where they were walking. Then he placed the sidewalks down. So I paid attention to what's going on. I did what my grandmother always told me. Learn where the bathroom is first before you start making changes. So I just noticed how the function of the office was and things like that. So after noticing that, sitting down with the supervisors, I restructured the whole office to make it an easier supervisor-employee relationship. And one thing I do stress with them is they're not your employees, they're your coworkers. They're my coworkers. No one in that office is better than the other person. Without them, I couldn't be there. Without me, they couldn't be there. So we're all equally important to the function of the office. And customer service is number one. Yes, we're a government entity. They have to come to us, but we treat them as we are a for-profit business. We treat them with the utmost respect. The customer is always right, and we always try to make sure that they're happy when they leave. Now, they always are, but we always try to make sure that they are.
I think something key that you said, I mean, I've heard elected officials say things as far as you're coming into my chambers, you're coming to my city hall, or you coming to my area where I'm over this, a building that they haven't paid for, but it's a position they were elected to. And I'm glad you kind of spoke on that, because sometimes that shows right there you are not bigger than the position. You know, like it's not what you say, it's how you say it, it's how you treat the people. And, you know, I've heard it. But in that case with you just coming in, I can only imagine, you know, first minority, a lot of women, they don't know what
32.
to expect. You know, they looking at you, and you to go in there and have that type of culture and be able to deal with different things that came at you, I think that's pretty impressive.
Well, thank you. But but I've taken what I've learned throughout the years when I was in the military, and from different people, different types of leadership, and you mold it into, or it molds you into the type of leader that you want to be. Either you see something that somebody's done that you want to emulate, or you say that's something somebody done that I don't want to do anything part of. And so that, you know, that makes you into who you are, and just make sure that you're a fluid and dynamic person, because you can't stay static. Nothing ever stays the same. If you do stay the same, you're going to be gone out of there, or the office will be bogged down and won't be any good. So, you know, you got to, in a way, you got to roll with the punches. You need to be a fluid person with everything that's going on, with the changes in laws, the changes in the political stuff, the changes in everything that takes place. It's important to be fluid.
Okay. Jury duty. That's a hot topic, because some people complain about having to go to jury duty. I've seen some people actually go to jury duty and enjoy jury duty. Can you kind of speak to the importance of a jury?
That is very, very important. Unfortunately, our jury turnout runs pretty close to our voting turnout, which is
that's low percentage.
Low percentage, unfortunately. But we do what we can to try to recruit jurors. When I came in, we changed the jury system, the way we did it. When I initially came in, they did what they call the cattle call. On Mondays, everybody would come to the jury impaneling room. It'll be 300 or 400 people sitting in there. Call out the names. You assign them to a certain court Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if they're assigned Tuesday, they leave and they come back. And that was another one of the platforms. I wanted to update the system.
Consistent days, if you go.
So we during one of the conferences that we went to, networking with another district clerk, they had a system they call iJury, and it's automated system. And so we had looked around different places. Some of the jury systems, they were asking $300,000, $400,000 to implement the jury system. Got with this person, and we paid $10 a year. We took the software package. Our MIS team did a great job, molded it to meet our county. And so now you can get on your phone. We send a summons out. You can get on your phone and set up your jury assignment, and you'll report directly to the court. And a good thing about this new system is not only are we saving the taxpayer $75,000 to $100,000 a year because of the system, but also you could go in and you say, okay, well, I have city council on Tuesdays. I got a conference, National League of Cities, this week, and that week. It'll automatically assign you to an open day and to an open court. And then it'll send you text, email, and unfortunately you hear my voice calling you to remind you to come to jury duty. But I always tell people, you know, you blow it off, they don't want that time. But just imagine if that's your loved one that was injured or killed or have a lawsuit, and then you don't have anybody, you're trying to seek justice and nobody's showing up. So if you put yourself in their shoes, you know how important it is to have a jury of your peers sitting in that box, and not just 12 people that don't have anything else to do but to come in.
I think it's pretty cool, because it's very important that you had that background in politics, because you understood how to be fiscally conservative. A lot of people don't understand networking and traveling, but by you networking and traveling, you're able to bring a program that literally cost you $10 a year, and they had the same type of programs, the prototypes that were upwards to $300,000 to $400,000 a year, and just the revenue that actually saved the county, because you got to update. You know, you
got
can't
to.
always do the same thing
No.
over and over again, especially if it's not efficient and effective.
Especially,
Yeah.
and then people will get tired of it. But I know some people say, "Oh, when you go to those conferences, all y'all do is sit up there and have fun." No, you're in class, you're learning the new laws, and one of the best things about it, you're networking with your peers, and you're hearing and seeing what they're doing in their city that you may be beneficial for you in your city or your county, and something that you're doing here may be beneficial for them. So that networking and that time that you're at the conference is very important. I always encourage people to attend those conferences. And in my office, I always bring some of my coworkers with me, whatever the conference is concentrating in, whether it's felony or civil or jury duty or records management, anything like that. I'll bring my coworkers from those designated departments so they can see anything new or they can add to what's going on.
Man, it's kind of unique because, in city council, I'm pretty sure you travel to conferences. I learned that they had a youth council in Washington, D.C., and I came back home and said, hey, why don't we have this? Next year, we brought kids right here from Beaumont to Washington, D.C. Some haven't traveled outside of the city limits of Beaumont.
Right.
TERS, the tax reinvestment zone. We learned that at a conference. Someone did a presentation. Now the city of Beaumont has their first ever TERS. So people don't understand, some of these tools and relationships that we gain when we travel can be very beneficial to your city.
Very beneficial.
Yeah. So what are some of the most rewarding parts of your job? What challenges do you face day to day?
Well, the most rewarding part is just meeting with the public when they're coming in to get passports or jury duty, or if they come in filing a divorce or anything like that. It's good to meet with the citizens. I guess the most challenging thing, if anything, is personnel. It's management of your personnel. But that's just a part of life. That's just a part of the job. Challenging, yes, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. One of the things I always tell my coworkers, we are a family. We may not always get along, we may not always love one another, but we're going to respect one another, and we're going to show empathy for one another, and we're going to work together because we're here from 7:30 till 5 o'clock every day. We're together more than you are at home.
Better figure it out.
So, that's the big thing that I push, and we pretty much have a pretty good relationship. You'll come in and see the morale is pretty high in the office, and people are getting along, and people are there for one another. We've had difficult situations where we have spouses fighting cancer, or, deaths and things like that, and everybody rallies around that person, shows support for them, prays for them, and lets them know if there's anything I could do, we're there for you.
Yeah, roughly about how many employees do you have?
33.
33. And when I went up there, I seen a lot of cubicle space, so it's out in the open.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that we did when we took office. They had the old Abe Lincoln desk and stuff in there, and so we renovated the office because I have an office in the main part, and then I have family law. Now we're moving everybody together, but we renovated. And it was like, well, why are you changing? Why invest that money in that? Because if you want someone to come into a place of work and feel good about themselves, you want the place to look good. Aesthetic means a lot.
It does.
And so by making the aesthetics of the office better, that increases the morale of your coworkers. And so that's what we did, and it's a whole lot better in there than it was before.
Even if they didn't have an office, just to give them their space to where they want to look at their loved one, they can put something up, or
Correct.
just a little privacy, with the wall, I can just imagine just being out in the open, even if it's that one coworker that you don't care for.
Exactly.
You gotta look at them the whole day.
Exactly.
So,
now, at least you can turn around and get a little bit busy.
At least you can turn around, yeah. Is there a particular project or initiative that you've been a part of that you're really, really proud of?
Well, I have to give you two answers for that. Work-wise, yes, passports and iJury. Community-wise, yes, because now working in the community, being on city council really got me involved and wanting to give back to what I've taken from. And so in my office, we volunteer for various projects, back to school drives, Relay for Life, feeding the seniors, anything that comes around, helping out in needling, the chamber with needling. We helped with the pickup in Nome. Anything that we do, because I want people to understand that we're not just in the community, we're going to be a part of the community, and we're there to give back. into the office. And you have a lot, I mean, you know, they didn't do that before, and they're more than willing to start doing things like that because it makes you feel good when you're able to give back, when you're able to say thank you for those who have helped you along the way, or for those who are in need. You know, when the hurricanes come, we're out delivering food and things like that, working at the warehouses, you know, whatever we can do. Someone calls. Right now we're doing a toy drive for CPS for Miss Camille Briggs asked us to help her with
Camille,
that.
yeah.
So our office is doing that. We do whatever we can. Someone comes to us with hey, we need some assistance, we're there. Thanksgiving, I'm going to be at some other place handing out dinners. It's whatever we can give back to in a way of saying thank you to the community for blessing me and with the position I'm in. You know, just a way to say thank you and a way to give God his thanks for blessing me with that.
You said something impressive that, you know, it just kind of resonated with me. You said not only you want to be in the community, you want to be a part of the community. And to say you've been in office this long, like you said, mentor younger people coming behind you, sometimes you can see people slow down, but for you to be this consistent and still have that mindset, it definitely lays the blueprint for others coming behind you.
Well, it does, and that's what, you know, like things that I've done, you're going to do much more than I've done, and the person behind you is going to do much more than you've done. But like I said, it's our job, it's my job to be a bridge builder for you. And as you advance along in your career and how you bless the community, it's going to be your job at some point to start building a bridge for those who's coming behind you. And if we give them a good blueprint, all we want to do is give them the bones of what's happening. You could put on the whatever kind of meat, whatever you want to make it yours.
Give them that
you know,
structure.
we just want that foundation that's laid. And if you're being held to a certain standard, you know, okay, well, Jamie did this, so I'm going to go. I did the 10 feet. AJ's doing the 10'6", and then whoever's behind AJ is going to do 11.
Let's keep raising that bar.
To keep raising the bar and keep doing better. That way, we keep improving our community, and we keep improving our city.
Yeah. Man, so how important is it to you and your perspective to balance that, you know, that I'm not going to say senior, but that seasoned citizen generation and younger people? Often you see in politics that seasoned generation and your younger politicians, they crash.
They do. It's unfortunate because some feel like they inherited and just going to stay in that position. And they don't want to teach anybody that's coming behind them out of fear. But really, you know, it's a way of saying, thank you, I've done my time. Let me show you what I've done. Let me show you my successes. Even more importantly, let me show you how I failed. And don't be scared to fail. Because you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes.
I agree.
But it's important for that balance somehow to take place, even though it may be friction going on. But it's important because as that senior leader, he or she needs to understand that younger generation, because you're leading that younger generation. And as a younger generation, you need to understand the older generation, because you're going to be taking care of that older generation as you advance on your career. The main thing is set aside your ego, you know, and just remember, I'm here not for myself, but I'm here for the people that I serve. And would clashing with you be beneficial to the people I serve?
Absolutely
No.
not.
No, it would not at all. So it would be better for us to bond together, make things work, and out of conflict, you don't want anybody that thinks just like you anyway. Nothing will get accomplished. You want someone that's different so you can see other viewpoints of what's going on.
I think it's important that what you said, that I remember when I was tasked with, hey, AJ, we need to know what these high school students want. You're a young guy. You should know. And I didn't agree with that. I felt like the best way to learn from what the high school students wanted was to actually let the high school students tell you what they wanted, versus just because I was considered a young guy, me throwing stuff against the wall and see if it stuck. So what I did is actually survey them, and I seen some of the things they wanted, but I'm just glad I didn't have that mindset to where, you know, because I'm older, because I've been here, I'm just kind of telling them what we're going to do versus actually working with them. Like the mindset you have in your office. We're a team.
We're a team.
You don't work for me, you work with me.
That's right.
And I think that mentality right there is what can kind of get us moving forward in this community, especially the tension between the older generation and younger generation.
Correct. You're right. You're absolutely correct. I mean, it's just, it's just like sitting down, just being able to converse with one another. I'll tell you a story. When I was in the military, we was in the desert training to go to Saudi. And they had a gentleman there. He was from Louisiana, that little island that makes the hot sauce. I can't remember. He was,
I know which one you're talking about.
he was somewhere
Can't
there.
think of the name, yeah.
So he, in the military, you're not so any color. You see camouflage. That's what they say. But so one night we were sitting on guard duty talking, and he said, "Hey, I want to tell you something. I've never met a black person until I joined the military." He said, "My whole life, I've never met a black person until I joined the military." And so we just sit there and talk, take the ego out, and just sit there and have a conversation. And we learned about one another, each other cultures, and we became very, very good friends. And I think that's just what needs to happen in any type of relationship, whether it's young and old, black or white, Democrat or Republican. There's always a middle ground where you could meet at, as long as you have an open heart and an open mind.
So, you're a part of several community organizations like the NAACP and the YMBL. How do these roles tie into your work as district clerk?
Well, one, it just allows you to meet different people, and the various organizations allow you to get involved more in the community. Like my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Incorporated.
Shout out to the Qs.
Shout out to the Qs. I had to do it. It's good to be part of a civic organization that gives back. And that's what they all do. I'm also in Rotary and things like that. I was on the Family Services board. But, we, the Omegas, we do, twice a year we do big fundraisers, linen and sundress that you've come to all the time.
I love it,
and we have a golf tournament that you've come to all the time.
I play that too.
Yeah, and that's just to earn money to give scholarships. So each year we give $10,000 to $15,000 in scholarships to those students to help them along with their education. And that goes for if they're attending a 4-year school or a 2-year school. And we're even going to start talking about vocational schools, because
that's important, man.
People used to put, I remember when I was teaching school, people used to put so much emphasis on 4-year schools. And I'm like, everybody's not going to go to college. Everybody's not going to get a 4-year degree. I said, you got 2-year degrees where you instrumentation or something like that. They're earning 6 figures at all these plants and stuff like that after 2 years. Vocational, where you could go in an apprentice program at one of these unions and be your own boss after a while. So there's so many different routes. I think if we keep focusing on school, we turn kids off and we discourage them from embracing what their dream may be. Their dream may not be a 4-year school. Their dream, maybe they want to earn an air conditioning company, which would be fantastic down here in Southeast Texas.
Because it stay hot.
Or plumbing, or electrician, or anything like that, any of the trades. So, but I just like being a part of an organization that gives back, and that means a lot. Because if it's just an organization that talks about doing stuff and not doing anything, you're wasting my time, you're wasting their time. Getting something that's going to be involved and give back to the community and be happy about what you're doing with the community.
Don't talk about it, be about it. One thing that I hope to accomplish soon, within the next year, a citywide internship program, because with that in place in this particular community, our youth struggle once they graduate on what's next.
Correct.
And what you just stated, there's so many options out there, but we have to figure out a way to touch our young people and show them these are your options. Get to know them. You have a personality. You might be good at this. Push them in that right direction. And I think that would help our community and inspire some of our young people probably to come back and work with some of those that pulled them up, when they didn't know. Yeah.
And it's important to get them young, because you want to get them as soon as possible to stop that, cradle to pipeline to prison thing. And if you get them young where they don't make a mistake with drugs or anything like that, because some hits on your record will automatically disqualify you. We were doing a program a couple of years ago, helping some of the people get their records expunged, who are eligible to expunge, so they can get their TWIC card and things like that, and go work at the port and things like that. But it's important that we all are good examples to the youth. Yeah, people make mistakes, but stop and think before, you have that few seconds to make that decision. Stop and think. The decision that you make right now could affect you for the rest of your life. It could be a whole different change. And that's just important if we teach them and try to stick that into their mindset. Be careful with the decisions. Be careful with the people that you hang around. And just take time before you make a stupid decision that could affect you. It'll be a difference from you going on 69 headed to Exxon than going on 69 going to the correctional facility.
And I think you said something important though, because even when I think about like the TWIC card conversation, you may have made a mistake and you end up going to prison. You serve your time, you get out, and now you want to find a job. Now these jobs won't hire you because of your background, and sometimes you can revert back to doing the same thing. So I find myself doing this often as elected official. I write letters in my capacity on people's character on their behalf to give them a second opportunity, because sometimes that one letter
It'll make a difference.
can make a difference, especially in people in positions like ours. And I think it's important for people to understand why they need people like us in these positions to be able to reach down and help them like that.
Correct.
Yeah. As someone who's been in public service for many years, what advice would you give to younger generations about getting involved in their communities or local government?
Well, I tell anybody, if they're saying, hey, I'm thinking about running for office, or I want to get involved, I always say the best thing to do is get involved with someone's campaign. Volunteer for it. If they're able to pay you, they'll pay you, but if you can't, volunteer for the campaign so you can see how it is on the grassroots level. You can get a taste of that side of what it is to serve. And if you see what's going on and you say, okay, I think I could do that, then you start thinking, okay, well, am I doing it for the right reason? Are you doing it just as a stepping stone, or are you doing it because you truly have a heart of a servant? Because if you don't have a heart of a servant, you're not going to get to be where you want to be. People know AJ wants to serve the community, so people get behind AJ. Other people, they say, they're just doing it just to do it, and they don't get in that position. So I believe that if you have to have a love of community, love of service to your community, and like they say in Rotary, you have to be service above self. Self goes last. Everything else goes ahead of that. If that's going to be your joy, your heart, where it comes from, because it's not about the money in public service. It's about serving the people and helping them and benefiting your community.
Yeah, you do things with the right intentions, I think it always will come out right.
Correct.
Yeah, that's something I live by. Do you feel like trust in the local government and the judicial system has changed over the years? What can be done to rebuild that trust, especially in understanding and underserved communities?
I think it has. People see so much on TV, and the thing of back in the day, in my day, print media was a thing. You had that's what people got their stuff from, an old Channel 6 with Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather and all those. Well, now, with social media and things like that, you have people putting on what they call fake news, which is really not true stuff. And so some of the things that people read and see are not true, and it's made to discourage them. And it's made them to question what's actually going on. So the one thing I would say about that is do your own research. Don't just rely upon one source. Get out there, because they got many things that you could look into and find a reliable source. It's like when you're in school writing a paper, you're going to take from more than one subject. You're going to take from more than one book or a reference. Do your research. Go out there and research on your own whatever thing is going to break. But as much as we could be transparent, is the better. As much as you can get involved in the judicial system, serving on jury duty, showing up for city council meetings, showing up for our meetings at the courthouse, for commissioner's court, just showing up. Voting is very important. Educating yourself and reading and learning about the topics and the issues, because things that affect you may not affect me. Like, you're younger than I am, so hey, I'm getting close to my retirement age, so I'm worried about Social Security and how things are going to be after I retire. Is the money still going to be there, and things like that?
We worried more about down payments on houses.
Down payment on houses, and which is very important. And that's why I say it's always a good balance to have a mixture of people. I always look at life like one of my favorite foods is gumbo. Me too. I don't just like chicken gumbo. I don't just like sausage gumbo. I like gumbo with everything in it. I like, and I tell, when people ask about, well, what's Beaumont, what's Jefferson County? I say, it's a big gumbo. We're gumbo. We're Latinos and African Americans and Asians and Palestinians, and we're a big gumbo. And I think the mixture of things makes us better. And so when we have that young and old mix or whatever, that mixture of things make things better, because you looking at housing, I'm looking at retirement, but we still, even at retirement age, I'm looking to sell my house and move into something smaller.
It all works together, and I'm looking to grow that retirement.
There you go.
Yeah.
It all works together. So, but that helps us balance everything out. If we have that foresight and not just look at the tree, but look at the forest, we'll be okay a lot better. But we have some people, but there's nothing wrong with looking at the tree, because you need some people to be meticulous and study one thing at a time. You need others that have a more broad sense of what's going on. I always tell a story about the turtle and the giraffe. You know, the turtle's always down on the ground and their head is down and they're foraging for food on the ground. The giraffe head is up, looking straight ahead, can see everything that's going on. Is one better than the other? No. Both are essential. But we need both to function in life. We need a mixture of everything and everyone to function in our community to make it better.
I think that's pretty cool. And one thing that I try to do with a lot of our elected officials that come on, because often people can't really get to touch us and get to know us. And we talked about some of the highs of your position or positions in the past. Can you tell me about some of the things that can be somewhat looked at as negative, or a situation that you went through that it didn't turn out your way? Like, can you kind of tell us about maybe it's just some of those things that took place in your life? That I try to show people that we go through things too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, reaching out and helping the community in a time of disaster, when you see people at their lowest and where they really need something, and you're not always able to give them what you need, that's heart-wrenching, because you just, you want to give them, you want to lift them up and let them know everything is going to be all right. Here's what's out there in front of you. And, sometimes you're not able to do that. The fight with city was always a fight for infrastructure in our area. And because Ward 4 is one of the older areas in Beaumont, along with Ward 3. It was a fight for funding for infrastructure, for better streets and drainage and things like that. You can always look back and say, I wish I could have done something more or done something else or made a different decision, but I'm proud of what I was able to accomplish. And I'm glad of the things I weren't able to accomplish that I failed, because they make me appreciate those victories a whole lot more.
Real. When I first got on the city council, I remember an older elected official telling me, well, the way we do our streets infrastructure is we take $8 million. And out of the $8 million, we have 4 wards in Beaumont. Ward 1, 2, 3, and 4. Keep in mind, wards 3 and 4 are the oldest wards in the city. One of the wards you represented, wards 4. And wards 1 and 2 are where you've seen a lot of economic development, the bigger, nicer houses. Right. But I didn't understand when I first got on. I'm like, well, why are y'all splitting funding equally? Why aren't we looking at the street index, putting the money where it's needed the most?
Yeah.
And I remember that was my first tough lesson in politics, because the majority of the council members felt that was the way to do it. But I am proud to say, in my first term, we changed that from splitting it equally between 4 wards
to following the street
so we
index.
put the money to where the street index said the money needs to go in. Majority of the funding went to the older parts of town, which is wards 3 and wards 4.
And where it's needed, it's needed.
And I'm not upset with them, but that mentality of we always done it that way, but it's that way best for the community.
And it's just working with people that understand that, you need, some areas need more help than others. And, to be fair, they're paying taxes just like anybody else, and although you may say, oh, well, they only have a $100,000 house and I'm paying tax on $1 million. But that ratio is the same. That's taking the same crunch to pay those taxes on that $100,000 percentage-wise that you're paying on your $1 million house. And if we want the whole city to rise, we got to float. Got to get the boat to float.
You can't leave one part behind.
Can't leave one part behind.
Because that same person
or woman,
you might, man or woman, you might have that $1 million house, and they may have that $100,000 house. But when you go in that voting booth, y'all equal.
Everybody's one vote.
Yeah. So the theme of this podcast is don't give up on the system. What would you say to people who feel uneasy or discouraged about the system?
We are in an imperfect system. It's been imperfect since they wrote the Constitution back in 17, whatever it was, and we gained our independence from England. But as a people, they didn't give up then. Over the years, no one has given up. It's always a building fluid document. We're a building fluid society. Everything can change for the better or for the worse. If you give up and don't try, then where would you be? What if African Americans just gave up and said, we're just going to keep things the way that they are? You know, we're going to remain in slavery. We're not going to have the opportunity to vote. 1920, women wouldn't gain the right to vote as suffrage. 2008, we wouldn't have had an African American president. So, I mean, nothing's going to be perfect. But if we keep fighting, we keep struggling, and we keep trying to make things better, it may not change overnight where you flip a light switch, but it's going to be, it takes a while. I mean, it takes a long while, and we're never going to be perfect. But that's the good thing about living here in the United States. That's a good thing about living in Beaumont. Embrace your imperfectness, realize your weakness, and try to make it better. That's all that we can do. We got bad areas of the city. Okay, let's not just shun those areas and turn our back on them. Let's get back in those areas of the city and do what we can to uplift those areas, to uplift those people, help them with jobs, help them with education, help them with housing, give them some type of hope that there is a better tomorrow. The more you fight, the more you'll succeed, and the more you'll do better for not only yourself, but for the generations that follow behind you.
Man, and that kind of leading into my signature question, which is normally the last question. When your career is over, what do you hope people remember the most about your time in office, your legacy? Jamie Smith, what do you hope people remember the most about you?
I just hope they remember that I was a fair person and I tried to do what's right when I did it, and I'm not perfect, but that I was just a job, like they say at the funerals and stuff, where you say, son, job well done. And I just hope they think that I did a good job as the district clerk. I think I did a good job as a city councilman. But above all, I hope I did a good job as a human being by trying to help my community and help the other people around me.
Wow, man. A lot of people be wanting to know, in politics, do you kind of see more beyond the district clerk position? Are you kind of going to retire? Do you kind of see more beyond? You don't have to say what, but do you kind of see more beyond it?
I'll take a day at a time.
Okay.
And God has blessed me so far, so I'll just continue. I don't know what's on the horizon, only He does. So I'll just pray and just keep going.
Well,
I see more for you.
Well, I'm thankful for you, man. I'm thank you for being a mentor to not only people like me, but younger people coming behind me, and just your willingness to open up and have this dialogue so people can get to know you more one-on-one. A lot of people already know you, but I want my generation to understand how cool and dope you are, James. I appreciate you, bro.
I'm old and antiquated, man.
Hey, the Q's in the building, man. Shout out to Jamie Smith. Don't give up on the system. Wow. Jamie Smith, a man that truly climbed the ladder. He's the true definition of service. He served in the military. He served at the city council level. And he's the first black district clerk in Jefferson County. Don't give up on the system. He dropped so many gems. I'm AJ Turner. Follow us on all social media platforms. We air every Tuesday on YouTube at 6 o'clock p.m. AJ Turner, don't give up on the system. I'm out.
I didn't choose politics. Politics chose me.